Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my Credenza character guide. If you are just here for a quick reference, I've created a pocket guide for the beginning of the video. Credenza's trait is Divine Radiance. As indicated in the tooltip, several of her skills have empowered effects during Divine Revelation, which will be reviewed in her skill breakdown. When the empowered effects trigger, the respective skill will also heal designated allies the equivalent of 30% of her magical attack. When Credenza performs Standby, she will sacrifice 20% of her current HP to gain Divine Revelation at the start of her next turn for one turn. Each time Credenza sacrifices 10% of her current HP or takes damage, each instance is a unique counter. Upon reaching 12 counts, she gains the skill Hierophany. When Credenza is defeated, she triggers Divine Punishment. Divine Punishment is an attack that deals 70% magical AoE damage to enemies within 5 tiles of her and inflicts blind for one turn. With increasing star level, Credenza will also gain increasing magical attack as well as enhancements to her Hierophany skill. She will gain Pray for Divine Revelation at the start of battle, and when Credenza first gains Divine Revelation, its duration increases by one turn. When Credenza has Divine Revelation, all her skill's energy cost is reduced by 1. Hierophany is a preparation support skill that can be used once per battle. Hierophany will dispel all debuffs from allies within 5 tiles of Credenza, restore 100% of their HP, and grant all level 2 buffs for 2 turns. When preparing, Hierophany will activate one time, but the amount of healing and the buff duration are halved. Credenza will also gain Pray for Divine Revelation until the start of the next turn. As Credenza's star level grows, Hierophany will also be enhanced, peaking at 1 additional energy restoration, reducing skill cooldowns by 1 turn, and granting Radiant Grace. Radiant Grace is a buff that increases attack and damage by 15% to non-summoned units. Here's a table detailing Credenza's growth at each star level. She has meaningful changes at star level 3, star level 4, and star level 5. Credenza's initial skill is Blazing Benediction. This is a 1 energy cost, 1 turn cooldown, single target healing skill, where Credenza will sacrifice 10% of her current HP and restore HP equal to 100% of her magical attack and dispel 1 debuff from her designated target. When Credenza has Divine Revelation, this skill will be instant. At rank 1, I recommend Radiant Blessing. Radiant Blessing is a 3 energy cost, 0 turn cooldown skill. Credenza will sacrifice 30% of her current HP to restore 2 energy to her designated target and grant 2 random level 2 buffs to all allies within 2 tiles of set target. When Credenza has Divine Revelation, this skill will restore an additional 2 energy to the center target and reduce all their skill cooldowns by 2 turns. Quiet Prayer is a passive skill that when Credenza performs Standby, she will heal allies within 3 tiles for 30% of her magical attack. Additionally, the duration of Divine Revelation increases by 1 turn. This is a general passive effect, and Credenza does not need to perform Standby for the increased duration. This is a good skill to serve as training wheels on learning how to play Credenza, so you can consider Castalia for this if you wish, but Quiet Prayer loses value at higher star level and when using the Resonant Crystal Astral Imprint. At rank 3, I recommend Graceful Salvation with the Castalia for Hierophany's return. Graceful Salvation is a passive skill that, at the start of Credenza's turn, she will heal all allies within 4 tiles for 20% of her magical attack. When Credenza has Divine Revelation, this skill will additionally grant allies Attack 2 and Damage 2 buffs. Hierophany's return allows Credenza to cast Hierophany up to 2 times per battle, up from 1. This may not be applicable for general gameplay, but as Credenza grows in star level, this will be meaningful to have against challenging content. Note that once Credenza meets the criteria to enable Hierophany the first time, she will not need to repeat the criteria again for the second cast. At rank 5, I recommend Radiant Barrier. When Credenza has Radiant Barrier, allies within 4 tiles of her will reduce damage taken by 15% from single target attacks, and Credenza will sacrifice 10% of her current HP. This can be triggered up to 2 times per round and will contribute towards her Hierophany counter. When Credenza is injured, damage taken is reduced by 30%. Protection of Light decreases damage taken from single target attacks by 30% once per round. While Protection of Light may generally be better for single target mitigation and protecting Credenza herself, Radiant Barrier supports her allies and can help trigger Hierophany sooner in battle. At rank 7, I recommend Flagellant. Flagellant helps to decrease damage taken and increase energy recovery. Battle Flag of Papal States is a generic leader's aura for Papal States allies. The reality is, neither skill will be a regular part of Credenza's loadout. Flagellant helps with Credenza's survivability and energy costs. Battle Flag of Papal States is made redundant if Karis or Samantha Everglow are deployed in battle with their respective leaders' auras. At rank 9, your options are Merciful Strike or Hypnotic Attack. Merciful Strike adds a healing buff to Credenza's basic attack. Hypnotic Attack adds a 30% chance to inflict sleep. The reality is, Credenza will rarely ever cast a basic attack. You can consider Merciful Strike to increase healing, or Hypnotic Attack simply for the HP increase. My pick here is Merciful Strike. At rank 11, I recommend Hymn of Absolution with a Castalia for Trial of Radiance. Hymn of Absolution is a 3 energy cost, 0 turn cooldown healing skill. Credenza will sacrifice 30% of her current HP, healing all allies within 3 tiles of her for 60% of her magical attack, and grant them Attack 2 and Damage 2 buffs. After casting this skill, Credenza will gain Pray for Divine Revelation. When Credenza has Divine Revelation, this skill will additionally grant Radiant Grace, a buff that increases attack and damage by 15%. Trial of Radiance is a passive skill that grants Credenza toughness. If Credenza is injured at the start of her turn, she will gain Divine Revelation. At the end of her turn, if Credenza has neither Pray for Divine Revelation or Divine Revelation itself, she will sacrifice 20% of her current HP to gain Pray for Divine Revelation. With this skill, maintaining Credenza in injured status will be necessary to achieve higher uptime on Divine Revelation throughout battle. This is my general build recommendation. In this build, use Radiant Blessing as Credenza's core energy spender to support allies with energy recovery and cooldown reduction. Graceful Salvation is a fair passive to use, but in scenarios where you may want more AoE healing and greater group uptime on attack and damage buffs, consider substituting for Hymn of Absolution. Note that when playing Trial of Radiance and Radiant Barrier together, Credenza has toughness and greater damage reduction when she is injured. In other words, Credenza will numerically be better at mitigating damage when injured. In scenarios such as high-level event challenges, consider Hierophany's return. Credenza's Astral Imprint is Resonant Crystal. The user will sacrifice 40% of their current HP, restore 1 energy, and allows movement of 3 additional tiles after actively using a non-instant skill. This additional movement enables the ability to perform standby. The effect is instant and can be used up to 4 times per battle with a cooldown of 1 turn. This complements Credenza's support profile, sacrificing HP to make Hierophany available sooner and enabling several of her passives by performing standby. Other characters that may be interested in this include units who have toughness and deal more damage the less HP they have. Some examples are Guzman and Kia. For weapon recommendations, consider Reorganized Cube to increase Credenza's healing output and add Dispel utility to her support skills. Consider Starry Sky Heritage to increase Credenza's HP and magical attack, adding more survivability and some healing output. For trinket recommendations, other than Resonant Crystal, consider Spring Pill. Credenza's gameplay flow regularly sacrifices her HP, but she has few ways to heal herself, so Spring Pill is a reasonable option for Credenza to support herself with a self-heal and self-cleanse. You can consider Crystal Burst Armor to increase her HP and survivability. For some other options not pictured here, Cooling Powder and Fancy Hat for their respective immunities are always reasonable when the situation demands for it. Attack increasing trinkets like Shield of Justice and Origin Hourglass are meaningful choices to increase Credenza's healing, but you may prefer those trinkets for your primary damage dealers. For tarot recommendations, consider Mercy of the High Priestess to further increase Credenza's healing effects, Elegance of the Empress to additionally dispel and convert ally debuffs, or Course of Fortune, a versatile and hybrid option for damage, healing, mitigation, and energy recovery. Not pictured, Gibbous Moon can help with Credenza's HP management and function as training wheels, but should not be used with Trial of Radiance. For Engravings, while Credenza does not have any skills with cooldowns, Cup and Wand can help manage her energy for Hymn of Absolution or Radiant Blessing. Otherwise, consider Double Cup to further increase Credenza's healing effects. To provide some composition and usage tips, recall that under Divine Revelation, Radiant Blessing reduces skill cooldowns by 2 turns. To avoid wasting any cooldown reduction, prioritize allies with skill cooldowns longer than 2 turns. Credenza ordinarily alternates between Pray for Divine Revelation and Divine Revelation round over round. This is a predictable playstyle to adapt to, but Credenza's support ceiling lies in her empowered Divine Revelation casts. To achieve higher uptime on Divine Revelation and lower uptime on Pray for Divine Revelation, equip Trial of Radiance and try to maintain injured status by leaving Credenza under-healed. For some creative ways of Friendly Fire to maintain injured uptime and raise her counter for Hierophany, you can trigger environmental damage by knocking objects into Credenza or exploding a barrel next to her, or even transform the tile under her to burning. Note that Credenza's HP sacrificing effects are not classified as any sort of attack or damage. The HP loss is not physical, magical, or piercing. It is fixed damage that ignores any HP sharing and invincibility effects. For a quick overview of external category buffs, Karis's Radiant Guidance increases damage dealt and reduces damage taken for Papal States allies when they have 4 or more buffs. The damage increases itself do not benefit any of Credenza's support skills, but she can support the buff count for allies. We also have Samantha Everglow's and Nonomel's aggression auras, but their unique effects do not benefit any of Credenza's support skills. That concludes this character guide. If you have any feedback to share with me, please leave a comment below. I'm open to listening and being wrong. I'm another player improving and learning more about Sword of Convallaria just like you are. Remember, if you find conflicting information to other guides or content creators, then that means there are multiple ways to build a character and still achieve success. Finally, my social media contacts are displayed here to connect with me as well. Last but not least, I want to credit and shout out these resources for helping me put together this character guide. Voyage Memento for character build samples and reference links, the No Potion fan site for skill images and skill descriptions, and the Billy Game site for character art assets. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.